Good morning, Mooners. So today we will be doing the book review of Pussy Prayers by Black Girl Bliss. This book, the way I found this book was through my Kindle. Before I buy a book, I usually look on my Kindle and read like the sample of it. And this was listed under another book that I read about pussy encouragement and empowerment. So this is how I found the book. Let me go ahead and say that it's called Pussy Prayers: Sacred and Sensual Rituals for Wild Women of Color. Sacred and Sensual Rituals for Wild Women of Color. Yes. So that's what caught my eye. It's a book more so relatable to women of color. Not to say that women of other ethnicities can't read it. And you definitely can. I mean, pussy encouragement and empowerment is across the board for all women. Any color, any race, any background. But that just caught my eye because you don't usually see books about this geared for just us. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into it. Again, my book reviews are basically me flipping through the book, reading you anything that I felt, called to share, just so where you can get a glimpse of how the book is written, the language of the book, the vibes of the book, so where if it's for you, you can go out and read it. There's never you should not or you should, just my opinion on the book. I enjoyed the book. A new kind of sex ed. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get into it. So on the Kindle, they give you like that sample of like maybe like 20 pages, if that. So let me go ahead and start. And I liked this book a lot because of the way it's written. Like, it's not the last book that I just reviewed, y'all know it was like top to bottom information. It was so much on one page. But this here is just very, very simple and lightweight. Like, seriously, like you could probably read this in a day. It took me a little longer just because I was in between doing other things. But the writing in here is very nice. So let's start. It says, it's shocking that the word pussy is unladylike. But the use of the word pussy is not vulgarity for vulgarity's sake. Words we've been taught are bad or naughty or nasty are usually words that carry tremendous power. Whether that power is positive or negative, it's for you to decide. Yeah, so it talks about in the beginning how many women are embarrassed to even use the word pussy in public or even say it, period. We all have our little nicknames, Coochie, Choochie, Mama G, whatever you want to call her, right? At the end of the day, that's your pussy. So, yeah. I felt that was very, interesting to say, like, call it what it is. Like, I mean, not to say that you can't have a nickname for her because that's how you, relate and connect a little bit better, make it your own. But yeah, definitely don't be embarrassed to say the word pussy. Okay? So yeah, it goes on to say how the word is listed as like a bad word. And what was cute was it was saying how when you say a bad word, like you kind of get like that that empowered feeling, like that, like if you was to, cuss or whatever, like one of the big cuss words. I'm not going to say it because I don't want, children on the YouTube hearing that vulgarity. But anyways, you feel empowered when you say it, when you get it off of you. So like that's how you should feel about the word pussy. Like, say it with pride. Hell, it is ours. So yeah, this here was also in the Kindle part of the sample. I'll go ahead and read it to you. Pussy Prayers was written for Black women because throughout time and across the American and African extinct. Can I read? Where was I? Pussy Prayers was written for Black women because throughout time and across American why can't I get this word right? Existence, we have been forced to disconnect from our bodies for survival. While I'm sure that any person with a vagina could read this book useful and find it useful, it is welcome for you to take what it is that you need from it. Just like black women, we have had to do each time to venture in all-white self-help, personal development, and pleasure education spaces. So it's just saying how a lot of times self-help and sex ed and things like that are led by women, white women. So it's saying that this book is exclusively for colored women. This book covers common experiences and practices unique to black feminine experience. The language used in this book will be most familiar to black women because I have written this in the same tone which I would talk to a friend or a sister. This is not discriminatory, nor is it exclusive. It is simply unapologetically specific. This book is for all black women of all ages, all backgrounds, and beliefs. This is a safe space. So that caught my eye when I was reading it in the Kindle. I was like, yes, regardless of whatever else is in this book, I need this book for that reason and that reason only, really. That it's for black women and it's for our experiences, because we do experience life differently. And that's okay. It's not discriminatory. It's not saying that one is better than the other. It's just saying that we have different experiences. And so this book covers those parts of it versus, other books written by non-black women. Just gonna go ahead and flip through as I do. And then at the end of every chapter, it's called pressure points. I don't know how well you guys can see this. I'm sorry. I'm outside. But these pressure points are like just questions, like journal prompts for you to enjoy, do on your own. So it says, do you enjoy being a woman? Have you always enjoyed womanhood? Explain. Who taught you about what it meant to be a woman? When did you learn it? And how did it make you feel about womanhood? These are pressure points, and they're different at the end of every chapter. I did do some journaling in here, just because I do write in my books, highlight in my books, and fold my books. I pay money for my books. I'm going to make them as beautiful and as uniquely mine as I can. Some people are against it, but not me. and I mean, honestly, if I was to get this book secondhand, I would love to see another woman's for her to share. Like that would be extraordinary for me. Like I would love that, to see what other women were highlighting or felt most useful to them. I would enjoy that. So this here wouldn't bother me even if I did buy it secondhand. So this is talking about the history of pussy. Thousands of years ago, when pussies were revered as holy and women were honored as oracles, priestess, healers, and goddesses, you can imagine the impact that had on girls coming up in womanhood. Women were seen as powerful, as essential, and divine beings to be worshipped. Let's see here. So you can imagine what happens when a girl who is raised to only see masculine as divine and holy and worthy of worship, while women are presented as unclean and less beneath men and self-imposed authority. So again, it's just kind of giving like the history of how women were worshipped and how pussy was holy in ancient times. Our ancestors, our women, our ancestors were held to the highest because we are the creators of life and should be. It goes on to say a couple things about history and how things have changed drastically. Learning that simply having a pussy and relishing in that power makes you irresistible to anyone blessed to cross our paths. Let me read that again. Learning that simply having a pussy is relishing in that power makes us irresistible to anyone who is blessed to cross our paths. Okay? Yes. Preach. So this here is just kind of going into like the self-help part of it. Treat yourself like holy ground. telling you how to manifest pleasure in every aspect of your life. You know, I talk about that all the time. We literally can create the life that we desire. We have the power, we hold the power to do so. We can manifest anything that we desire. There is nothing that is limited for us. Nothing. Plain and simple. So it says this pleasure and power does not necessarily have to do with sex. You could be asexual, celibate, and still experience pleasure. Your pleasure consists of how turned on you are by your surroundings and your experiences and your very being. Yes, your main source of pleasure is you. Some tend to believe that if they have had their uterus removed or damaged in some way, that they are cut off from the center of their divinity, and that is simply not true. Being born as a woman, giving rights to be a woman, you are untouchable, spiritual, and connected to the divine. Yeah. And even for women that are transitioning or you know, I don't want to sound ignorant here, but for anyone that identifies as a woman, you hold that power. You have that. Like, believe in that and walk with it every single day. And of course we have, you know, our downtime, and that's cool, but have that downtime and connect right back. Just connecting back will bring you out of that downtime. So again, here's some pleasure principles. This book has been created, written in such a way that is required that you do not read from beginning to end. So it was saying that you can, you know, flip through or whatnot. I did read beginning to end because it was kind of a quick read, especially how it is written. So these are like, this is like chapter 2. Like, it's just so simple and cute. Chapter 2, attention, please. Let's see. So she goes into speaking about womanhood and learning about it as a child. It talks about historical trauma and the trauma that we hold as a Black community. Let's see. For part of this here, the danger in disconnection. You know, how dangerous it could be for a woman to be disconnected from her pussy, from her divine, her life force energy. It is dangerous. A lot of women, unfortunately, you know, don't feel connected and are not able to experience that high, you know, that pleasurable energy when connected. Let's see. So it's talking about, it gives you a few rituals like bath time and things like that. Looking at your vagina. It says vagina, that's why I said that. I would have said pussy. Looking at your pussy, using a handheld mirror, getting connected and, what's the word I'm looking for? Connected and, yeah, just knowing what she looks like. Yeah, using a handheld mirror. I've heard of that multiple times. So she was saying how some being a woman has reminded her. I was astounded. It was like the whole universe in there. I remember thinking it reminded me of the moon, with its hills, its holes and crevices. I stared and poked and prodded until I was tired of leaning back and had to sit up. So she was talking about what it felt like her first time using a handheld mirror looking at her pussy. She was saying how it reminded her of the moon. The moon. I love it. So just little tidbits in this book really made me enjoy it, definitely. It talks about orgasms. It talks about PCOS. She had a history of it. As a young child, she had irregular periods and grew to be very thick at a young age, very grown at a young age, and how that, you know, set the path for her, you know, for her upbringing as well as her self-confidence and things like that. Her being connected, disconnected at that time because of that. So she was saying how the PCOS, she was so disconnected from her pussy because of it. I used my pussy as an object for sex. It wasn't enjoyable. Sex was painful for me, physically and emotionally. My willingness to fulfill the desires of my male classmates and some men much older made me feel worthy and functional outside of myself. in a way that I did not feel inside. On top of that, realizing in my early teens that I was attracted to girls more than boys, I felt even more dysfunctional. I didn't want to be seen, I didn't want to be touched, I didn't want to be comforted. I needed to be loved and to be told that it was okay and that I was normal. So that just kind of goes into saying how her disconnection made her not like sex. And I definitely can relate to that. Being a young girl, I literally was just having sex because it was something to do. I don't even think I ever enjoyed it. I only did it because I felt powerful giving it to men in ways that had them chasing me. But I wasn't connected to myself. I didn't enjoy it myself. I was doing it more so, I guess, kind of out of guilt. I talk about this to my to my daughter, because I want her to know, like, you got to be connected and you got to be fearless and fierce within yourself before you can give yourself to anyone else, or else you'll just literally be giving yourself away and never have nothing for you. I remember there were times that sex was just something to do. I never even liked it, ever. It took years for me to get in tune and find myself, and be connected to the point where I did find pleasure in it. I also talk about how I never broke up with anyone. In all of my relationships, I never broke up with anyone. And that wasn't because I didn't want to. It's not because I loved everyone that I was with. It's because I can't say that I even cared enough. Like, I was just like, whatever. I didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. So I was always doing stuff for outside reasons. That's what I'm trying to get at. And she here kind of resonated and related to that as well. And then again, being attracted to girls more than guys. Like, I definitely can relate to that as well. Being younger, back when I was younger, being attracted to a girl was a big deal. Like, you didn't do that. It was unheard of. And for the girls that were attracted to girls and stepped out and were brave enough to say that they were at that age, back when I was younger, I look at them now and I'm like, wow, that's bravery. Because if I was brave enough to do that, I probably would have ended up differently. She was saying how the PCOS made her feel broken. It meant that my body was extremely sensitive to unhealthy foods and that I would be a victim of abuse, and that was only existing in my head but never in my body. The universe, getting to the root of the cause, my physical and emotional states, and realizing just how out of touch with my body I really had become. Let's see here. It says, I had to do the work of unpacking of all the reasons why I had secluded myself in my head and covered myself with this protective layer over my body. The state of our pussy is usually the reflection of our mental and emotional conditions and our physical actions. When we are living well, honoring, respecting ourselves, speaking our truth and experiences, and healing as necessary, we can be a vessel of creativity, beauty, strength, and power. When we ignore our pussies and all our experiences and traumas, and we cry out for attention, we can often link that to onset of illness, both physical and mental. So it's saying how when you're disconnected and not healing the trauma that's held within you, that there causes illness physically and mentally. So again, it's the pleasure principles, just little bullets here for you to journal about. Chapter 3. I'm not going to go through every single chapter like I said before. I kind of just go through, let's see here. The clearing process, when she was 20, how she started, how she was invited to a sister circle, which I love sister circles. I definitely had thought about starting my own. Make sure that you follow me on Instagram and Facebook. I have a Facebook for my business, as well as a Facebook for just women empowerment, It's called Moon Me on Facebook as well, and Moon Me 1.0 on Instagram. Um, yeah, so follow those. Let's see. And then it talks about, I had never been given an orgasm from these sexual encounters, no matter how hard I tried and concentrated to make it happen. I knew that I had to process and heal emotionally and spiritually before I could heal physically. So it kind of has like an italic writing here for like a prayer. Close your eyes and direct your energy, attention towards your pelvic area while you place your hands, palms down on your vulva. Breathe deeply and make sure your body is relaxed. So it's kind of giving you like some meditation here. Nice, I love it. It talks about speaking to your pussy, yoni eggs. These eggs, egg-shaped crystals that can remove stagnant energy or infuse characteristics of the crystal. Yoni eggs are inserted into your vagina and left there for a certain amount of time until you decide to have it come down. The eggs are good for clearing and cleansing, just like stones. And then it kind of gives you like a little bit of information on yoni eggs here. It says do your research on which stones can be inserted internally. Consistency and intention. Intention is everything. Allow your higher self to soothe your ego. Thank your ego for its concern for your safety and assure that you will be okay. So it talks about being aware of your ego versus just your inner self. Your ego is there for your safety. It talks about how your ego protects you, and sometimes you have to take the two. You have to separate yourself from ego. Thank your ego for its concern and let it know that you're going to be okay and you can handle this from here. Because sometimes when the ego gets in the way, boy, we make decisions based off of nonsense. So it talks about owning your own truth. Okay, so your inner child. Intend to empty yourself so that you can begin to refill yourself with what it is you deserve. The point of all of this is to express your truth. You must express every feeling fully, no matter how painful or inconvenient, no matter how much negates stereotypes of who you should be or who you should believe you are. Holding your truth back is what has gotten you to this place. So you must do something different to move past it and move back towards the woman you were created to be. So it talks about healing your inner child. Very, very important. Everyday deliciousness talks about how you can really literally make everything pleasurable. We have that power to do so, so why not? Let's see here. I have some things highlighted. Just trying to read here just because I want to. It talks about your menstrual cycle. This is your menstrual cycle. This is the most powerful and sensitive time as a woman. If you don't have a typical period, pay attention to how you feel around the full and new moons. I talk about this on my Moon Me page, how to connect. Are you a white moon or a red moon woman? During the times when you feel hyper aware of everything, emotional, wanting to be alone, to reflect, this is your spiritual moon time. Our natural processes do not end because we are without certain body parts or physical experiences. So I talk about this all the time. Many people think, oh, well, I'm on birth control, or, I have the IUDs, or I haven't had a period, I've had hysterectomy, or whatever you may have going on. They think, oh, well, I can't figure out the phases of my period. I can't figure out the phases of my menstrual, because menstrual is just one phase within a whole bunch of phases, a 28-day phase that we go through. The bleeding process is just one part of the phases. So to get in tune with that lets you get in tune with all of the other phases, and it's very, very important. And just because you've had hysterectomies or have been on birth control or on birth control or your period's irregular, that means nothing. You are still a woman, okay? You're still a woman, so you can still find a way to connect and figure out those phases. I talk about that on my Moon Me page on Facebook. So yeah, that's definitely important because it gives so much insight to so many things. Many women are raised to hate their periods. We are taught shame, disgust, denial, and suppression of our periods. Men call us unclean, use our periods as excuses to dismiss our feelings, which results in us feeling embarrassment and resentment. We have been conditioned to believe our periods are inconvenient and should be ignored as much as possible. These beliefs have kept us disconnected from our pussies and from our power. If you have a negative relationship with your menstrual cycle, begin reclaiming this time as your period. Get closeness between you and the divine. Reflect on how you learn and relate to your menstrual cycle and write that down to begin to heal and change it. Definitely connect to your menstrual cycle. Again, even if you don't physically bleed, you can still connect and find that power. It gives you some morning rituals. I'm going to go ahead and try to get through this because the video is already kind of long. Adorn your body with accessories like body chains, waist beads that remind you of your sensuality. Y'all know I'm all about them beads, like hit me up. Hi, BB. Sex magic and manifesting. Again, I tell you all the time. During sex or masturbation, before or after orgasm, visualize what you want to manifest and let that sexual energy you have building up bring forth your desires. You can try masturbating while repeating your intention. Yes, I talk about that all the time as well. That's why this book had really touched me, just because it already talked about so many things that I believe. So for me, this book was more geared to beginners, women that may be just beginning their journey on connecting to their pussies. I wouldn't say that I'm definitely not an expert. I still have a lot ways to go, but this is more beginner friendly, just because again, I already have these rituals, in tuned for me. But during sex or masturbation, you repeat your intention. That life force energy, you're wide open, obviously. You're wide open, so the universe, that energy is just flowing and getting that intention out there, manifesting what it is you desire. It comes to you much quicker because, again, you're wide open. So try that. Consider how often you sit with your thighs locked together. Oh, this here caught my eye. Work on a project you've been thinking of. Paint, write, sing, do whatever it is you're yearning to do. Surround yourself with spaces every now and then. Remind yourself of what your sexuality and feminine energy feels like. Consider how often you sit with your thighs locked together or crossed, because you have learned in childhood that ladies sit with their legs closed. If your pussy is your manifestation portal and you consistently keep her constricted and closed off, what do you think that does to your ability to manifest? Yes, that there I did not know. I am one to always sit with my legs crossed, just because it helps me with my posture. You sit with your legs crossed, you feel more feminine. But again, she's saying if our pussies is our manifestation portal and we have it closed off, what is that? How is that helping us? Girl, I'm sure most of us, we got those thighs that if we did have a dress on and didn't have our legs crossed, you still wouldn't see our pussies. Those thighs come together and you don't see nothing. So think about that. Think about uncrossing our legs and sitting in our power. Practice keeping your legs uncrossed, maintaining a modest as much as you can, and affirming that your pussy, that you are open to allowing your manifestations to birth through you. Because again, that is our portal and that is our life force energy, sacral chakra. Rewrite your story, powerful connections, pussy decisions. Just going through here. Better sex. We cannot expect to be refilled or refueled with a partner. A relationship is not going to suddenly make all of our dreams come true. Nothing outside of yourself can bring forth your desires, and hoping that another person does that for you is gambling at the best and tragedy at its worst. Don't Don't ever get in the mindset of thinking that someone else can come in and make your dreams come true, nor come in and pleasure you to the point of feeling extraordinary. That is just a bonus. You need to start within, pleasure yourself, find and connect with that, and then move on the outside. Learn yourself first, as I was just saying. Intend to return negativity and shame to the person it belongs to. This energy does not belong to you. It is not yours to hold. So it's just talking about mirror work, letting go of what it is that caused you pain. Just flipping through here to see what else I may have. I know towards the end of the book, like I said, I just came back from out of town, so I read the rest of it on the plane and I didn't have a pen. So I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything in the back. Gives you some affirmations here. Talks about partnerships, the next steps. And then it gives you, just thank you for reading her pages. And then pressure points, it gives you even more pressure points. Journaling is an important part of your journey to healing and pleasure. Make time to reflect and preserve your learning growth along this journey. And so that's really it. That's the sum of the book. Towards the end, it has, if you were to do a sister circle and do the book as like a reading exercise, it has like certain discussion questions, homework, and final reflections. It has how to talk about sex. It lists foods and things like that that are good for your yoni. Coochie comforting crystals. Yeah, so it gives you some crystals here. It just gives you like a list of crystals. It doesn't tell you exactly what each crystal is for. You'd have to research that on your own, which I love doing. And it has a list of herbs that are good for like yoni steaming and things like that. Of course, do your research on that. Let's see. And it just has a whole bunch of bullet points for you to like reflect and journal on. Yeah, and then at the end it has reading suggestions, which I'm super duper stoked about, because at least 5 out of the 10 she listed I will be reading. So that is Pussy Prayers in its entirety. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe if you are, if this is your jam, if this is your vibe. I will be doing more and more book reviews and videos all about women connecting, energy, things like that.